What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. Today I'm going to be looking at some NHL trade rumors from Spectors Hockey for May 12th, 2020. I haven't done this in such a long time, but I really want to get back to making the rumor videos, the signing videos, the proposal videos that I always do, and they're a lot of fun. That's kind of my thing. I love doing them. So they're going to start up again. So if you are new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. Go check out some of the other content. You're going to see a lot of Leaf videos. I am a Leaf fan, but I do talk about all NHL teams. So if you have any suggestions on trades for different teams and stuff like that, don't worry, those are coming, but you also can recommend them down below. But also go support Spectors Hockey by clicking his link down below and go read what he has to say. I just give my opinion afterwards and talk about what's going on in the trade rumor mill. And he's been posting these during the pandemic, so make sure to go and support him. But let's not waste any more time. Going to be talking about the Sharks and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So basically, the first part of this comes from The Athletic. Make sure to go and subscribe to The Athletic if you can. I'm not going to be reading this word for word. Like I said, I always just give my opinion. But Kevin Kerrs last week proposed a 9-step plan for the San Jose Sharks to get back into contention, or at least into playoff contention. Because here's the thing. The San Jose Sharks were a team that myself and so many other people, and hockey fans probably in general, figured were still going to be a pretty good team. They've made a lot of huge moves. They have a lot of money tied up on their blue line. Of course, they just recently, in the last few years, made that huge Erik Karlsson deal. Obviously, they have a big deal in Burns and Vlasic. Like, they have a lot of money tied up on that blue line. They have a lot of scoring up front. But for some reason, this year it just didn't work out. They had some key pieces move around a little bit. They had to move on from some veterans at the trade deadline. So this team is kind of all over the place right now. And maybe with the potential compliance buyout coming, which basically means that they can free themselves of one contract or two contracts, depending on what the NHL does, and the NHL salary cap probably staying at $81.5 million, they're going to have to free up some of that space. Maybe they're going to buy somebody out. Maybe they're going to have to make a trade. But basically, some of the suggestions here started with Martin Jones. Like, are they going to find a backup for him, or are they going to find a guy that can, take on some of those games, maybe be a 1B type of starter to pair with Martin Jones? They're saying that maybe he could get bought out. I doubt that they're going to do that. I just don't think it's probably a good idea for them to do that, just in case he does have a bounce back season. He hasn't been very good as of late. He's just one of those goalies where sometimes he's streaky, and I am a fan of him, but he just hasn't been good. That's just how it is. He just hasn't been good. He's streaky sometimes, and then there's times where the guy just can't stop the puck, which clearly is a problem if you're trying to win games. They're saying they shouldn't bring back Aaron Dell either, who's slated to become an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. They're trying to get, basically what he's trying to say is they should bring in a goalie as like a stopgap, because they have prospect Alexei Melnichuk. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. I need to look into him more, but they're trying to develop him. They're saying maybe Thomas Greiss could be available to come back, and Spectors noticed something that I was just going to bring up as well. He was saying that Greiss has had solid numbers as a backup, and of course he might want to return to San Jose. Who knows? And again, he mentioned the same thing as me. Like, it could offset what Jones, his inconsistent streaks. You just throw in Greiss to try to like stop the bleeding a little bit, and I think Greiss would be an intriguing option. But there are a bunch of goalies that will be available as unrestricted free agents this offseason that maybe the Sharks could take a swing at. But that would include having to get rid of Martin Jones, which I don't know. Maybe they want to do that if they can get a significant upgrade, because this team, I feel like they're like a trade or two away from just getting right back to where they need to be. They need to clear out some money. Even though they do have a decent amount of cap space. It's on Cap Friendly, it's saying that they should have around $17 million in cap space, but that would be with an $84 million cap, so that's not going to happen. They're going to be around $14 million. They've got some contracts to sign with some guys that, again, I'm going to make a full video on the Sharks as well, but I just wanted to kind of bring up this stuff as it's in the rumor mill. But, they might have some money to play around with there, but they need to fill some holes, and if they're able to get good goaltending, they might be better than a 9-step plan that they're trying to come up with here. But again, it's all up in the air. Kerrs also recommended that the Sharks general manager Doug Wilson trades one of Brent Burns or Marc-Edouard Vlasic. And before I even get any further to this, I like Burns. I like Vlasic. Vlasic has kind of fallen off a little bit in terms of not being worth his contract. Burns, again, is also really, like, he's paid quite a lot of money, and they're both getting up there in age. They're not old, but, you know, with the amount of money that they're getting paid, like, if we just go in cap friendly right now, like, they're not producing at the level that they used to be. Like, Burns is an $8 million guy right now, although I think that he's probably still going to be okay. He's probably still going to be good for the next 2 or 3 years. And then Vlasic is at $7 million. So both those guys are getting paid a ton. They both hold no trade clauses as well. I believe Burns has a list, but Vlasic has a full no trade. So those guys are probably going to be tough to move. And again, in the Spectre's note, it says it's not impossible, but the market for those guys could be big depending on what teams you go towards. Here it's saying Toronto or Montreal. Toronto's out of that equation. They can't afford a guy like that. Montreal, they've been looking for a defenseman. Apparently they were interested in Vlasic quite a long time ago. Bringing in a guy like Burns or Vlasic would probably help the Canadiens big time. They're a couple pieces away from being really good as well. So depending on what goes back and forth, there could be a good trade for both sides, but trading either one of those guys would be a tall task at this point. Also, Kerr's also advocated Wilson trade 2 of LeBanc, Marcus Sorensen, and Dylan Gambrell with the freed up salary cap space. With moving Burns or Vlasic, you know, you can sign a guy like Tyler Toffoli in Vancouver, although I think they want to hold on to him if they can. Nashville's Craig Smith or Mikael Granlund, or Florida's Yevgeny Dadonov, which, I mean, any of those guys, those teams would love to keep, but those are interesting names. It seems like a lot of money going out when they might be able to afford a guy like that. With just trading Vlasic, they might be able to pick up a good scoring forward. I don't think they have to trade a few guys. Although if they are able to free up enough cap space to maybe bring in 2 names that could help them going forward, and I think a goalie should be one of them, like a good goaltender. Imagine Leonard on this team. Who knows? Could the Sharks be able to afford Robin Leonard? Maybe that's a video I could do, but that would instantly boost their goaltending. And then if they bring in a guy who can score, this team is right back into it. And I think that it's probably going to see them right back into contention. Basically, there were some notes on you know, the contracts that they have to deal with. LeBanc is a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. Sorensen and Gambrell are signed through next season at a combined $2.2 million, which, again, like, that's not a ton of money. So I don't know why you'd want to get rid of that depth if you are able to trade a guy like Vlasic. And LeBanc bet on himself. Obviously, he had a really good season before. This year, he had a pretty decent year, 33 in 70 games, 33 points, I should say. But you know, he going to arbitration, he probably doesn't have a ton of leverage here. It says in the Spectre's note. I would definitely agree. So maybe he's a trade candidate. Again, I want to make a full video on the Sharks because I think they're a really interesting team going forward. And I do have some ideas for them that I didn't even mention in this video. I've been starting to try to take some notes here. Now, as you guys know, I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and I made a video about this the other day. Mikko Lehtinen is now a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, left shot defenseman, scoring defenseman in the KHL. If he can make the transition to Toronto and put up like 30 points or even 25, somewhere in that range, and play a sound two-way game, he doesn't have to be exceptional because he's probably going to be on the bottom pairing. If he can play a decent game, maybe play a bit of the right side, what does that mean for Travis Dermott? Now, myself and Downtown Stephen Brown have talked about this on stream in separate videos, and we have more videos coming soon, so be on the lookout for that. Subscribe if you want to see that. We're making rosters for the Leafs going forward, trying to go back and forth to see what we can do. But keeping Dermott as depth would probably make a ton of sense. Putting Sandin and Liljegren back in the minors to get them more ice time could work. And then if mid-season, if you want to trade Dermott, or if Lehtinen isn't working and you want to bury him in the minors, you can bring up one or both of those guys as depth options. There's so many options up in the air, but we'll have to see what Dermott gets as a free agent because, well, a restricted free agent. He's an RFA. He didn't have the greatest year last year. He was also injured, so maybe he does what fellow Maple Leaf for now, Andreas Johnsson, did. He took like a 1-year deal, like a prove yourself contract. I believe it was like less than $1 million, $975K, or it was just at $1 million, but I do believe it was $975 or $925. And then Johnsson scored 20 goals. Then he got his money. He got like over $3 million, I believe $3.4 million. So if Travis Dermott just goes, okay, I'll take like $1 million or 1.2, something like that, take a prove yourself deal, show that I'm a two-way defenseman that can play on this blue line long term, then he can get his long-term deal, or at least another, significant 3 to 4 year deal that the Leafs and Dermott could both be happy with, or they just trade him. I don't know what's going to happen, but I would think that the Leafs are going to hold on to him for added depth. There's a ton of options up in the air for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think Mikko Lehtinen is forcing the Toronto Maple Leafs to have more depth, and who knows, maybe the Leafs go out there and make a trade for a right-shot defenseman that can fit into their cap plans. So we'll have to see, but the Toronto Maple Leafs look like they're at least in the mix to acquire another guy going forward. We've heard a ton of names out there, and now that the Leafs have depth on their forward group and a little bit more depth on their blue line, we'll have to see what happens. So if you are new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Join the squad. Let's get to 8,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. Make sure to go check out the link to Spectors Hockey down below. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.